Hello and welcome to episode 50 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Noah Meagher. Joined to my left on the screen, good buddy, co-host Jackson Muniz. And unfortunately, we were missing a man. We're missing Ryan Anderson. He is in Sedona, Arizona. I'm not exactly sure why he is there, but it is causing him to miss us tonight as we're going to be talking about some West Coast horses, what we think of their chances going into the Breeders' Cup. Can you believe it? We're only 16 days away. I believe the math is right on that. 16 days until Breeders' Cup Friday, so can never get these things started early enough. It's kind of getting quick on us because I know I've definitely been consumed with Keeneland. I know Jackson's still recovering from the hangover from a couple weekends ago. So we're going to try to do that and heal those spirits with a little West Coast talk. But before we get into that, of course, we got to go through our peripherals. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. And then we've got our regular Power Picks tip sheet, of course, that you can subscribe to. $2.10 ROI all time, 917. I know it's definitely more than that. And then the one thing, of course, that we've got to bring up, we've got our regular, our 2025 special Breeders' Cup Power Picks tip sheet. It is on sale, I believe, tomorrow. I know Howard threw that banner in there for us, but it is tomorrow. You got 20 pages of info plus Breeders' Cup weekend on our website. You can check it out, HHHRacingPodcast.com. It is $35 if you are already subscribed to our standard Power Picks, and I believe it is $45 if you are not currently subscribed. So go ahead and go check those out, and I think that's pretty much everything that we have to cover. You can go find out more about us again at that same website, HHHRacingPodcast.com. But I think, Jackson, that's everything that I need to take care of. Let's check in with you. How you doing?
Doing good. I think the official word on Ryan is he is in Arizona for a pickleball tournament. Is what he texted us a couple minutes ago. I didn't even know he was a pickleball player. So turns out that was really important. So we'll miss him tonight, but we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun. A lot of good races to talk about, obviously, with the Breeders' Cup coming up, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course. It's Breeders' Cup season is in full swing, and I texted you earlier. I'm not sure if this show is going to be about 30 minutes or it's going to be about an hour and 30 minutes. So we'll just have to get into it and see how it goes. I will be bringing up a little special tool to help us out. Of course, we'll probably have this up for most of the show. As you can see on the screen, very accessible. You can go to drf.com/breeders-cup, and our good buddy David Aragona has got morning lines for horses that are projected to be in the races. So hopefully people can use this tool, of course, to help them out. I know the real past performances don't come out for probably another week or so. But of course you can access this tool, and it's really good stuff. And it's really good for something that we're going to be talking about tonight. So
yeah, I think the pre-entries are a little bit earlier this year, if I remember correctly. I think they moved it up like 2 days. It wasn't nothing crazy. I want to say it's Monday. Next Monday. I could be wrong about that, but I do think it's a little earlier than
earlier the better. And I feel like people that have kind of been consumed with all this good stuff and the good racing that we've had over the last couple months have a little bit of an idea of who they're going to be keen in on as the days progress. But I think I've kind of decided there's about nine divisions that the West Coast Cavalry has a pretty good chance at. I know some of them have a better chance of winning more than others. But I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I think we're going to skip the Juvenile Turf Sprint. We can maybe come back and do that at the end. But I think the first one that we should talk about is the Juvenile Fillies. As I pull that up on the screen, there it is. And this is a great tool because you can kind of keep up to date with all of the horses or the probables that will be showing up in these races. But we're going to scroll down and see who David Aragona's got as the morning line favorite. And you can see we've got two California-based horses kind of at the top of the list. Explorer, he's got it 3-1 for Baffert, and then another Baffert entrant, Bottle of Rouge, who won the Del Mar Debutant. She's at 5-1. I think those two have big chances. Lawali ran a pretty nice second in the Oak Leaf. So Jackson, where do you want to start the discussion?
Well, we should definitely start with Explorer, right? Because I think she's probably going to be the favorite. I would agree with David after Tom and Joe was kind of disappointing at Keeneland. I think everyone was expecting her to be the big favorite in this race, but after, she didn't run great in there, obviously, and was lucky to be put up via DQ. So Explorer is the one that should be the favorite in this race just because she hasn't really done anything wrong. Ran that big race on debut, obviously. Then she came back. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that debutante race at Del Mar, because I thought she actually ran okay. That pace was fast, but really fell apart. You saw Lawali and Bottle of Rouge, who ended up winning. Both came from well out of it, got really good trips in there, especially that second quarter. I think they really sped it up when she tried to break open that race. So I thought she ran fine in there. And then last time, Neogly, she did what she was supposed to do, right? She was 2-5 in there. She got some kind of a setup. I just think she was just probably better than those horses, but she got a good strong number. She seems like the most reliable horse in this field. I'm not saying she's gonna win or that I want it better, but I do think she's worthy of favoritism in this spot.
No, I'm 100% with you because I went back and watched that debutante, and I thought they were moving pretty good. And the horses that were around her, at least there were definitely two of them that were nowhere to be seen. I know it was either the third place finisher or the fourth place finisher was kind of around maybe 4 or 5 lengths within Explorer, but she totally did the dirty work. Just got caught by Bottle of Rouge. But I thought, just based off numbers, you can see she ran a 74, and it's not up to the standards of the other 2 races she had run. But just based off of pace flow and stuff, I thought you can make a case she ran pretty well in there. Bottle of Rouge and Lawali. I have a kind of a bit of a feeling that Lawali could maybe be a sneaky wise guy horse, just because I know she ran 3rd in the debutante, and then she ran just a fine 2nd in the Oak Leaf last time. But it kind of seems like she, if anyone out of this race, just being a daughter of Constitution, I think the longer the better for her. So she's one that I could see maybe taking some money on Friday for sure.
Yeah, she could definitely take a step forward. And I feel like out of all the races, this is the one on Friday. Obviously, depends on what happens with the turf races, who ships over, but this feels like the most wide open race. I know Explorer is probably supposed to be the favorite, but she is by no means a standout. And you're going through this whole list of horses, and they all run numbers that are, kind of similar. And it's not going to be surprised at all if one of them is able to take that step forward that we see so often with these, these lightly raced 2-year-olds. Horses like the Grumpy Rabbit or the McCarthy horse, they don't need to improve that much to be competitive in here. And this feels like a really messy race. So I don't hate the idea of picking Lawali. I don't love her last 2 races, but I'm not going to talk you off of her because, like you said, this race feels ripe for an upset.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you see the mention in the others. There's a horse named Meaning who, Jack, I don't know if you know a ton about this filly, but I believe this is a McCarthy filly who has run once, broke her maiden at Los Al. But I've seen the only thing that I didn't know who this filly was until I was just scrolling through Twitter the other day, and can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Swift. I don't know. Somebody posted a video. Was it him? Somebody posted a video of her work, and it looked pretty good. I mean, it just seems like it's one of those divisions, like you said, where you might just have somebody getting somewhat good at the right time. I mean, there's really no world beaters in a division like this. Have you known anything about this horse? Because I just learned about her probably 2 days ago.
I knew about her going into the debut because there was a lot of talk about her, and she did what she was supposed to do. It was at Los Al. It was in a 1-turn race, and she won nicely. I'm not going to be surprised if they enter in here because, again, it's not the strongest Juvenile Fillies division we've ever seen. It does feel like, I think it just saw Matt's comment, it does feel like a year where a horse like Caledonia Road was able to win, or I think it was Take Charge Brandy that paid $75 or something and just absolutely blew up the toe. It feels like it could be one of those years in this year's Juvenile Fillies.
Yeah, it's good to have a bunch of people in the chat. I know people are very, very excited for the Breeders' Cup. We've got Matt Junkyard 12. Del Mar can't get soon enough ready to talk some BC. He was up at the top. I don't know if you were paying attention to the fall challenge. I know he was up there doing well for a while last Saturday. Of course, Matt is here, not remotely ready yet, but I will be when the time comes. I know he's going to have his pencil sharpened, and so will Jim. Freshly sharpened, looking for great info from Noah and Jackson. We've got a ton of other people coming into the chat as well. Sorry if I do not bring them up, but keep commenting because it's probably more than likely.
Also, congrats to Brad. I think Brad got an NHC seat this weekend. I saw him in the chat. I think it was NHC. So,
Brad. Oh boy, Brad. He's congratulating somebody else, but I think the congratulations need to go to Bradley himself because that's a great accomplishment. 7th place, I believe, in the fall challenge, and well done, my good friend. So, got to give him his props. Next division we'll talk about is the juvenile. I think we can pretty much rule out. I wouldn't say rule out, but I think the turf races on Friday will probably be dominated by Euros. I mean, that would have to be my guess, and if it isn't, it's probably the East Coast. That's just my take on it. Of course, again, you can see horses that will be in and horses that will be out. For some reason, Napoleon Solo is not running in this race. I was a little surprised by that. But a horse that I think is probably going to be pretty tough is Ted Nafi. But Jackson, it kind of seems like as we scroll down and see the rest of the field, his main rival is going to be from the Baffert barn. It's going to be Brant.
Yeah, my understanding is this is probably going to be the smallest field of the whole weekend. Like, I think there's only like 5 or 6 confirmed starters right now. It seems like it's going to be pretty short, and it'll be between Ted Nafi and Brant. They'll be the 2 shortest horses by a mile, as you see on the screen right here. So I think the thing with Brant, what he has going for him compared to Ted Nafi is Brant has run in races that have had fast paces, whereas Ted Nafi is not. You look at Ted Nafi's PPs, he's run in 3 races. And I know the first 2 were definitely very slow on the pace. They were all blue fractions, and he did what he was supposed to do. He took advantage of that. I haven't seen the fractions for that the most recent race, but just based on how slow they went, it seems like it probably would be blue fractions as well. So he's unproven in a race that features a fast pace, which this race probably will with all the Baffert horses in there. Whereas Brant, going 7 furlongs, was setting that fast pace and was able to keep going. It's not easy for these 2-year-olds, these lightly raced 2-year-olds, to go 7 furlongs, set a fast pace, and go, and keep running fast. We often see these races kind of fall apart late. So I do think he deserves credit for still running as well as he did. I know he probably had more expectations after running that 101 Beyer on debut, but I think he can be a little forgiving of that 91 effort. I think the big question for him is, can he win off of this kind of layoff, because Baffert hasn't proven he can do that yet. He's 0 for 3, as you see right there. And it's not like he's had horses that are, long shots. That was Gaming last year, who ran, I think, 3rd, or no, he was 2nd. Prince of Monaco a couple years back was, I think, 4th or 5th. So he's done okay with this. He just hasn't won yet. So that's a big question mark.
Yeah, and I think for these 2 races that we've talked about or talking about so far, I think people are going to be really tuning into the morning shows that they do. FanDuel TV does a great job, and not just these 2 races, but I feel like just these 2 races in specific, because we know what these 2-year-olds, I mean, they're progressing and getting better by the day. And I've heard some people, I don't know if it was on social media or just, listening to podcasts or videos or whatnot, but people were saying that they think that the Brant number was quite a bit high for his debut, which I think if you factor that in, you could maybe make more of an excuse for a 10-point Beyer decrease, just because maybe that number wasn't so high, and maybe he just kind of ran evenly. But even in that case, I think you'd probably expect a step forward. I know Baffert's got a history, regardless of what they've done in the past in the Del Mar Futurity. I mean, that's not an important stat,
right?
But he's done much better with Colts in the past than he does with the Fillies. Maybe Howard can help us out with that stat, because I think he said something along the lines of 4 out of the last 8 juveniles in California or not. Maybe it wasn't in California. It might have been just the last 8 juveniles. 4 of them were from 4 of them were Baffert, 5 of them California, and then the Fillies was a little bit surprising, where it was either 1 or 2 from California was Baffert. So a little bit better with the Colts.
Yeah.
I'll
just say, it's like, as far as that first race from Brant, even if it was 10 points too high, does it really matter if he ran a 91 on debut? Like, I don't think it matters. Like, he's either going to run in this race well or not. Like, at 91 on debut, going 5.5 is still very, very good.
Yeah, I know in Trepido they've got Aragona's got him at 10-1. I know I was reading an article today, and Jeff Mullins was pretty pleased with the way he finished up in that American Pharaoh, but obviously Brant wasn't in there. Desert Gate's been a little bit disappointing ever since, because he finished 2nd to Brant, and people were kind of making the case that maybe he ran a little bit better that day, and I think a lot of people were hoping that he would run really, really well and kind of assert himself towards the top of the division. But I mean, outside of him, it just kind of really seems like it's a little bit of a 2-headed snake this year.
Agreed. I don't know. I would be interested in Blackout Time if he was running. I don't think we've been confirmed nor denied if he's going or not, because these other California horses, they just look okay. I agree with you about Desert Gate. He's kind of had his chances at this point. I feel like he was really supposed to win the other day when he had when he made the front end and was just second best in there. Intrepido, though, he's at least going the right direction. He's improved each and every start. I'm just worried about him, what kind of trip he's going to get, because again, he seems like a horse that's probably going to be coming from out of it, and seems like it's going to be a pretty small field. So we'll have to see what happens with him.
Yeah, we'll move on to Saturday, and Saturday we're going to kick things off with the Filly and Mare Sprint, and this is going to be an interesting discussion because Copian is the morning line favorite in this race, and she's also the morning line favorite of a race that we'll be talking about in a little bit, but we won't mention that just right now. We've got quite the trio from the West Coast. It's safe to say that it's expected that a West Coast-based horse, even though Hope Road ran on the East Coast last time, I would dare say that this is probably the most likely race that we see a West Coast winner. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even you go past the three horses here, I think Tamara is the fourth favorite, and then the fifth favorite is Richie, who's Bob Baffer, and then Splendora, and then you keep going. There is nothing from the East Coast this year. It's a little rough. So I will say Praying at least is going the right way, but a West Coast horse is supposed to win this race. And it starts with Copian, and it does, it is a question mark. Is she going to run here or not? It seems like they are considering the sprint seriously now that they have Tamara too. So we'll see what happens with her. If Copian does run in here, she'll be a deserving favorite. I think she's really, really good. I think she's very, very good. We saw what she's done this year. That race against the three Baffords earlier, she got I think it was a 110 buyer when she beat those three. I was a little skeptical of that race, but then she just completely proved me wrong at Churchill Downs. And I know you're a big believer that there was a big anti-rail bias that day. She spent the good 4.5, 5 furlongs of that race just glued to the rail, swung out top of the stretch, and still won that race very, very easily. And that was against the best version of Hope Road. That was against the best version of Ways and Means, who's not in this race. So if she runs back to that race in the spring, she's going to win this. It's just a matter of who's going to finish second. The problem is her last two haven't been quite as good. The Lotus Out race, I think you can be maybe a little forgiving. It was kind of just a bridge. I think she lost a shoe. She got a little hurted out in the stretch in that race too. So maybe be forgiving of that race. And then try the two-turn race where got a bit of got an interesting ride that day. I actually thought she ran fine. I thought she ran really well because she came last. Yeah, I mean, she tried to close into a pace where Seismic Beauty got everything her own way. She ran well, finished second in there. So if she shows up, she's probably supposed to win this thing, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, if she does, it's going to take an effort from one of these other fillies and mares that we haven't seen yet to beat her. So I think 5-2 is a very fair price on her.
Yeah, I really don't have anything else to add. I think I want to ask you a question as the PHP BCBC correspondent, as a recent winner of a BCBC seed, of course, and partner with our good buddy Mike Ski over within the Money. Let's hear from you. What is the consideration level as a place to make a move in this race versus others?
I texted him earlier today, about an hour ago. I said, I've decided that whichever race Copian runs in, I get zero say in that race because I am way too biased about this. I cannot think objectively about this filly. I just can't. I think she's really damn good. I think that race on the Derby Day was arguably the best race of any horse all year long. I think it was maybe even better than Sovereignty Travers, just based on how against the track she was that day. So I can't think clearly about this horse. If Mikey says she's going to win, sure, we'll go all in on her. But that's the answer to my question there. And it seems like they're not going to run the Distaff, which is kind of pissing me off. But if they're not going to run the Distaff, I hope they run here because I think she'll be very, very tough.
Yeah, and Brad put a interesting comment up there. I know you and I were talking about it earlier where, I mean, it seems like she's got even a pretty good chance to win the sprint. I know we'll talk about it in a little bit, but it just kind of seems like wherever she runs, she's going to be pretty tough. But I think Brad's pretty spot on, and obviously you agree as we were talking earlier today. I think she's got I think I'm basically summarizing what you were saying earlier. She's probably got a better position or she's got a better opportunity to get better position in a race that is a little bit further, like the 7 furlongs that she'll get in the Fillies versus the 6 furlongs, because I think the 6 furlongs can be a little bit of a scramble. So obviously Sweet Azteca's in there. I haven't heard a ton from their camp. I honestly, it wouldn't shock me if they didn't run, but I'd love to see a run because that would make Kobe a better price. Hope Road was good in the Ballerina. Tamara was pretty good in her comeback race. I know people had hoped the number was a little bit better when she came back and won the Chillingworth. Ricci has just been super hard knocking. I think even you can go back to the winter and spring. I mean, she hasn't run a bad race in probably a year. And even Splendora's got some good races in there. So even if Copian goes to a different division, it really seems like the West Coast has got this one locked up.
Agreed. I think I would be against Sweet Azteca in this spot because her two best races by far, in my opinion, have both been at Los Al. And she's run well at Del Mar, but has she run well enough to be the second choice in here? I don't think so. I would prefer Hope Road. I would prefer Ricci. I don't know what to do with Tamara. Like what do you think of Tamara? Let me ask you that first. What are your thoughts on her?
I don't know. I mean, obviously they think something of her. I know they've always thought something of her, but I mean, how long was she off for? She was off for a while and came back fine. I know she really didn't beat much, but to throw her in a spot like that, and even Aragona, I think senses that they think a lot of her because she's at 6-1, and I mean, you might get even lower than that if Copian doesn't even run the race. So I'm kind of with you. I've always been on the fence with Sweet Azteca. I know her race in the Rancho Bernardo was pretty good. I know that was a bit of a smaller field. Hope Road, I've always been a bit of a fan of. I've always just kind of liked Tamara at heart, just because of the story with Beholder and all that good stuff. And like I said, even Ricci, I feel like Ricci's been one that's been super, super consistent.
Yeah.
But if you ask Ryan, Ricci is a practical joke filly, so she would have no chance in this race.
No, this is what she wants to do, is go 7 furlongs.
Oh, this is one turn. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's why.
The question that you think people need to ask themselves about Tamara is: do you want to take a shorter price on a filly that needs to run a race she's never run before to even be competitive in here? Because that 95 buyer she got last time against a very suspect field does that even hit the board in this race? Probably not. I mean, she needs to take a big step up to be competitive. Yeah. So I'd be very skeptical of betting her in this spot.
That's a good point. It's a really good race, especially if Copian's not in the race. Next division, Turf Sprint. We'll scroll down. Favorite on the morning line made by, of course, David Aragona. 7-2 on the line. That's AG Bullet. I know, Jackson, you've been a pretty big fan of hers. A recent last out winner at Kentucky Downs. I know there have been some not so good stats of horses coming from Kentucky Downs. I don't exactly know what the stat is, but I know it's pretty significant. Notorious was the second place finisher unofficially, got put up via DQ. He's at 9-2. So you've got West Coast horses, choices A and B, and then even, I don't know if I'd call Reef Runner a West Coast horse, even though he's run here twice. But regardless, this is another one where I think the West Coast horses have a really, really big shot.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It does seem like AG Bullet, that they have contrasting styles, which is probably good. AG Bullet will be closer to the front, whereas Notorious is he's gonna sit back and make that one run. He always does. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of what they've done with him the last couple of years. They've run him at Del Mar and then give him a little break and get him ready for the big race. He was big in her last year. The problem is last year he got a crazy setup, and this race is very tough to gauge because we don't know what's coming from overseas as far as the pace goes. So I gotta think they're both big contenders. So I mean, what's coming over from the East Coast that they need to be worried about? Nothing crazy.
Well, what happened to it's Bring the Band Home. I thought Bring the Band Home was
he was on there. He ran at Woodbine the same weekend at Keeneland where we were there, and he was I think he got last. He was really, really poor. He got hooked in a speed duel. It was kind of a strange decision to take him there. I would imagine as long as he's healthy, he's still going to run here. He would be the speed, obviously, if he shows up. So it'll be interesting to see what he does, because that'll definitely affect the price of AG Bullet, who's done nothing wrong her last 2 starts. She went to the East Coast twice and won, which doesn't happen too often. So anytime a horse like that does something like that, you definitely want to take note. And I think she was 3rd in this race last year. But she was either 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah, AG Bullet was 3rd. Notorious was 2nd, I believe, behind the almighty star list.
Yeah, good thing Ryan's not here. Good thing Ryan's not here to talk about that. I don't see any reason why they can't be competitive in here. It's not a race I enjoy betting a lot of money into, just because it seems it's so tough. It's so trip dependent in these 5 furlong races, but they're both major contenders.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier. I mean, there's going to be horses that people like just based off watching races. Motorius is certainly one of them for me because I thought he ran massive in the green flash. He was part of that kerfuffle with Reef Runner coming over. And then if you watch the late stage of that race, Reef Runner and Beyond Brilliant were on the rail for a good 3 furlongs, while Motorius was parked way out wide. I mean, that's basically what he does all the time. But that was the first day at Del Mar that they had taken the rails all the way down. So the inside was golden. Those two rallied up the inside. Motorius was 10 wide. I wouldn't go as far as, like shoving or making a push in a big contest like the BCBC, just because it's 5 furlongs. The turf sprint at Del Mar. We'll talk about it next week. I mean, it's complete chaos. But 9-2, I'm kind of licking my chops because I do like him quite a bit. I was a little skeptical of him last year, but the effort that he ran in the green flash just about a month ago, I really like. So I'd be willing to put a decent sized win bet on him and hope for the best. Just kind of one of those races where you pick somebody and hope you get a good price on them, I feel like.
Yeah, I'd agree. I thought Reef Runner was good good last time though in the NED, if we want to count him as a West Coast horse. Because I agree. I thought his races in the green flash could have been a little fluky, but he definitely proved that not to be the case in that ED. He ran really well in that spot, and he's a contender too. I think he's proven over the course. He's speedy enough to get position. I don't see why he can't be competitive in this race. And
I'm glad you mentioned that because that only validates the form of Motorius. So there you go. And our good buddy Matt Miller's got a little comment. He says this is a race that he's keen in on. Thinks AG Bullet and Motorius BIG should lock it up. We'll see no commitments yet. Matt, you heard what I have to say, so there you go.
I'm trying really hard not to commit to things right now. It's 16 days out before post positions are out, but it's difficult. Screw Keelan tomorrow. I want to handicap these races. I'm excited.
Next race that we'll be looking at, and we'll be looking at some West Coast runners, is this race right here. It is the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I know there's a horse from the East Coast that a lot of people were looking forward to seeing running. Unfortunately, she's not going to be running. And then I got to mention there's a horse right here. One of these top three is not going to be running, and that's Cavalieri. I can't remember exactly what day that was. Maybe you can help remind me. But Cavalieri's not going to be running. So it looks like I wouldn't go as strongly as saying this is Seismic Booty's race to lose. But with the lack of speed from the other horses that are in this race, it was randomized that was on track to run in this race. She's not going to be here. There was some other speed that was maybe gonna push her, but boy, she's going to be a significant lean, I think, for some playing in a little contest called the BCBC.
Maybe. I'll go as far as to say that right as of right now, before post positions are out and before seeing who defects and everything, I think she's the most likely winner of the whole weekend, depending on who comes over for the Arrows. Cavalieri is now out of this race. Nitrogen's going to be second choice. Nitrogen is significantly slower and has much to prove. Dorothy Vader's interesting. She scares me a little bit, but I mean, Seismic Beauty she's speedy in a race that doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of other speed that's running. I guess Scottish Lassie could be the threat to contest the pace, but she's run two numbers that are just way better than everyone else in this race. And that especially the horse you just highlighted needs to improve a lot. So she's going to be in front in here. If she regresses 7 or 8 points, she's still probably going to win based on that last effort. She doesn't have many question marks, and a lot of the horses in this field do. So I think she'll be very, very tough. And I'm very annoyed that Torpedo is not running in here, and as is Cavalieri, because I think there was a chance she would have been the third choice, and I still think she was the most likely winner.
third choice off of a 110. I mean, that's
big. I mean, that's how crazy they go for Anna, man.
Yeah, it's quite the shame, and it's quite a shame that Dorothy Vader didn't beat her in the Personal Lens. I would also be playing in this VCVC, but we're not going to touch on it.
Listen, there's 2 weeks left. There's plenty of contests to enter, Doc. We're good.
Yeah, and speaking of, I had another second place finish on Sunday, and of course, my father was the one that capitalized from that. But
so what is that? Is that 3 second place finishes and 6?
Well, I don't know what you call the dead heat. Well, I mean, technically it was a tie for second, but
that's a second place finish.
Okay. Yeah. It's been a brutal couple of months couple of months for your boy, but there's still a couple weeks. I mean, there's still 16 days. I can still make it there and kick your ass.
There's qualifiers the day before, as I know very well, when I thought I qualified last year and did not. So just win one of those, you're good.
Easy peasy. Sizing beauty at the head of the field. I think we've.
Do you agree with what I said about her? Like, do you think she's the one to beat and everything? You don't have to go as far as saying what I said, but
I mean, the only horse that will put, I guess, a ton of pressure on her would either be Gingin or Scottish Lassie, and Scottish Lassie didn't even try for the lead last time at Parks, and then Gingin, the only time she's been decent has been at Keeneland, and she was 40-1 and 20-1. So I'm with you. I think she's a big lean. Hopefully you get even money like you were hoping for, and I wouldn't be surprised if your wish came true in this race. I know, actually, while we're on the topic, we just heard that the list of races came out. What race is this on Saturday? Do you know? Is it race 4?
I think it's the race before the turf. If it's the same thing happened last year.
Okay. That's probably what, race 4 or 5?
No, it's race 7 or so.
6 or 7? You didn't even do it. Whatever.
I'm trying to pull it up for you. Race 7. Race 7.
I think we should probably save the Classic for last, because the Breeders' Cup's not going to save it for last for us. So we'll move on to a couple of the divisions. We'll begin with the Sprint, and you'll see a familiar face on the board, and that's Kobe again. We were talking earlier, Jackson and I, and I wasn't sure if Aragona had just copied the name and the morning line and all the information that you see on the screen. But no, David thinks that she is the most likely horse to be favored in the Sprint. I don't know if I would completely argue against him, because you see Ben Tornado, the second choice, at 3-1 outside of the race that he ran last time at Churchill Downs. I think Copian's got several numbers that are faster than that. So I think it's hard to argue that David is wrong in a situation like this. You got Straight No Chaser, who was very disappointing last time in the Sprint Championship, but from what I read, he's been working fine in the mornings, and they're going to go. The one that upset him in that Sprint Championship was Imagination, who I know Ryan's a pretty big fan of. Got a 97 buyer for that win, and he's one that's kind of a fresh face in a division that's not so good this year. Lovesick Blues. Oh boy, we got to have Ryan on to talk about this one. He's, I guess, going to take some money. He ran a fine, what was that, second in the turf race on, what was that? Was that last weekend? That was last weekend.
That was Saturday, yeah.
Saturday, yeah. Bit of an unusual prep for a race like that, but they're gonna pony up the 100,000 and run in the race. So those are the horses that would be competing in the Sprint. I know Ben Tornado, if Copian's not in the race, is probably going to be a big favorite. But do you see any horses from the West Coast giving him a run for his money?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Ben Tornado for me is a tough call, because last year I cannot decide if the Sprint was just a bad race last year. It seemed like a race at the time. I remember thinking that just nobody kind of showed up. And he only got a 102 for it. That's okay for a Breeders' Cup race. It was fine. They kind of just ran around the track, and no one really did anything in the back of the pack. And he was also, 30-1 in that race. And then he missed all this time and came back. And he ran great at Churchill. He beat Skelly, though. I think no one is believing in Skelly anymore at this point outside of Oakland Park. So I don't know how good the field was he beat. Now he's running, second off the bench. Can he repeat that effort? I think there are question marks about him. So I don't hate these West Coast horses in here. The question marks about last year's Sprint, I think, can also apply to Straight No Chaser, when you think he kind of took advantage of that race. But yeah, that comeback race was rough, right? What did you think of that one? I thought he was terrible. Like, he wasn't really contested too much. He kind of had things his own way.
No, he was bad, and even to the point of Ben Tornado, I know he ran the big fig, but several of those horses like Hear My Song and Skelly had come back and run in the Sprint race at Keeneland the
Phoenix, and they were both terrible. Yeah, that was not a fast race. No, it was not a fast race.
Skelly was awful. He broke terrible and then rushed up and then was nowhere to be seen. World Record, who I liked at Del Mar, he was supposed to win that race. He was awful.
Yeah.
Nakatomi, who had been favored in the race the 2 years prior, I think just caught a weak field. I think he's on this list somewhere. He's 15-1, and I think he was a favorite last year. So boy, this is not a good group, but at the same time, it's one of those where, I mean, boy, do you trust the number that Bentornato ran? Because if you do, it seems like he's clearly at the head of the division, but it's just a strange decision that you kind of have to make in this division.
Yeah, I agree. You have to make a decision on him. I think Imagination is kind of interesting in this spot because if we go back to his Malibu last year, we were watching it from, I want to say we were in the winner's circle together watching it. We were all cheering for Raging Torrent for our boy, and he had the lead, and some horse came up the rail that looked like he was loaded, and I'm like, oh my God, backwards.
He was going to win.
And it was Imagination, and then he made this big move and just got a little tired late. And then they tried to route him again. That was going 7. Then they tried to route him, didn't work out, and they gave him a ton of time. And it was kind of, my understanding is it was a last-second decision to throw him in the sprint championship race. Like, that was not the plan. They were going to do an allowance race, and then, like, the day of entries, okay, we'll just throw him in. He looked good, and he was kind of, I don't want to say green, but he was, like, trying to get in the entire stretch. They couldn't straighten him out, and he still won the race pretty easily, and I got to think he has a step forward in him off of that effort. And if they can get that, Sierra Leone running straight thing figured out, I don't see why he can't take a step forward in this spot. He's not going to be favored. He'd be a decent price, especially if Copian runs. So he seems a little interesting to me too. And then we got to talk about Ryan's horse for sure. Lovesick Blues. I don't know what to make of him. I really don't, because if he runs that Bing Crosby, then he probably win this race. If he runs it back, I mean, there's horses that have run that number, but they're not consistent about it. I just don't know where it came from. I have no idea what to do with him. And if he's going to be 12-1, maybe take a little flyer on him, because there's a case we made that his best effort is as good as anyone else's in here.
And I would probably, I wouldn't say make fun of, but I would probably talk bad about the people that made cases to bet him if it wasn't for the fact that he did it at Del Mar, because there was some, for some bizarre reason, he just was so good that day. And I think the consensus probably 12 to 24 hours after the race was over was, nobody showed up. They showed up, and he crushed them.
Well, and they've all come back and repeated the numbers they earned in that race. So it's not a fluky number. It's a matter of, was that a fluky effort from him? Are we ever going to see that performance from him again? And that's the question you have to answer. He ran fine on Saturday. I think they got what they wanted out of it. He ran a strong second by nose down the hill. I don't think it took too much out of him. We'll see. If he draws, I think he needs to draw out that again. He probably needs things to go well for him to be competitive in here. Like if he draws the rail, it's probably not a horse you want to be using too much. But if he gets the outside post again, then yeah, why not? Yeah,
Matt is asking about Mulligan. I know we're trying to talk about as little East Coast and Midwest horses as possible, but 20, 30 seconds, Jackson. If he tosses his last race, he finally gets away from a horse that's not going to be running here in Bookham Danos. So do you give him a shot?
Yeah, I don't know why Dano's not here, but that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, if he runs back those races 2 and 3 back where he just got beat by a superior horse, he can be tough too. This is going to be a good sprint. I know it's maybe not the strongest group we've ever seen, but it's definitely very competitive.
Yeah, very. Next race we'll talk about is the Breeders' Cup Mile. Johannes was kind of the horse that was to watch this year in 2025 coming out of that race. Now I know this is going to be pretty heavily dominated by some heroes. You see Field of Gold, Notable Speech, and then you see Johannes out there. Aragona's got him at 8-1. I know his win in the City of Hope was, I thought, so-so. I mean, there wasn't really too much to complain about it. I know he was quite disappointing at Saratoga. He could definitely make the excuse that he had some trouble and not a very good ride that day. But in terms of this division, the other one kind of from the West Coast is Formidable Man, who's probably just a little bit up against it. What do you make of Johannes' chances going into the race this year?
Yeah, he's another one I don't really know what to do with, right? Because last year he was really good in this race last year, but he had the whole body of work prior to the Breeders' Cup to prove that he was that he was up to the task, that he was that good. And I know this year the goal was to have a really fresh horse for this year's Breeders' Cup, which, mission accomplished, but we don't know if he's the same horse or not, because the Saratoga race, which is you just toss it out. It was so inconclusive. He was never going to run well with how he broke and the trip after that. It just, you got to pretend like it never happened. Then last time, City Hope, I don't know. Like, he did what he was supposed to do, but I wasn't overly impressed with him like I was last year, I thought. At 8-1, I think I'd probably be a little bit against it, but I could also see him. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if he's like 15-1 in this race, depending on who comes from overseas. Because,
yeah,
I don't know. I could see a lot of people getting off of this horse. Like, oh, he was terrible on the East Coast and he's been bad this year. Like, no, we're not going to bet him. So if that's the take of everyone and he drifts up quite a bit, I could get on board. But at 8-1, probably not.
No, I agree. And I know we're supposed to be touching on West Coast horses, but if Rhetorical is 6-1, I think that is the worst bet of the weekend. I mean, that is completely ridiculous. 6-1 on Rhetorical when you have Euros at 7. I'm not.
I hope we get Field of Gold. I know it's not super likely, but I really hope so. I'm fascinated by him.
The more Euros, the better.
Yeah.
Dirt Mile time. I believe it was the last race last year. It's not going to be the last race this year. It's going to be the Filly and Mare Turf, which I'm not sure if we'll talk about because the West Coast is pretty non-existent in that race. But speaking of existent, it looks like we're going to see Nisos in this race. Hopefully, he's been a little ouchy as of late. He was pointed to the Classic, and then he was pointed to the Mile, and he said, "Oh, we might go to the Sprint." And then now they're back to the Mile. Aragon's got him at 3-1 on the line. And then second choice is Full Serrano, who was probably pretty disappointing, I'd say, in the Goodwood, wasn't able to hold off Nevada Beach. So those are the top two in the division. Citizen Bull is going to Coolmore after this race. He's 10-1 on the line, winner of the Shared Belief. I guess he's got an outside chance. This is another division. This is a little bit like the Sprint where if Nisos shows up, then he probably wins. If he doesn't, you could basically throw the names into a hat and pick out of it.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm a very big hater on the Dirt Mile being a Breeders' Cup race, but this year's race seems pretty strong. They don't even have listed rated for merit for Chad Brown. My understanding is he's being targeted for this race too. And it also wouldn't surprise me if one of Locked or Mindframe ends up running in here as well, because Fletcher has 4 for the Classic. So if we get one of those two, this could be a loaded race. I mean, it's already good based on who's in here, but it could be really, really good. As far as Nisos, I wonder if Howard's still watching. Nisos he's tough to pin down, right? Because he's just shown so much talent. He has all the talent in the world. There's no doubt about his ability. Just can he stay healthy? Because he's already missed a couple works in between. I know he's back in the work tab this past weekend. If he makes a starting gate, he's got to be a major factor in this spot. It's just I don't know what kind of price you're going to get on him. 3-1 seems pretty good. But I could see him being like 3-2 easily. Like, I can see people going just absolutely nuts for him.
If you get the best version of him, I think 3-1's a complete gift.
Well, and he's run well every race. He's never run a bad race. It's just his races have been, very spread out. But every time he's gotten to the starting gate, he's been great. I mean, the San Diego, he ran for about half a furlong and got a 102. The Triple Band, he ran massive. The Churchill Downs race, I know it only came about 98. That was arguably the strongest field of the entire year for one of these classic races. I mean, Bookham Dana was in there, Mindframe, Nisos. That race was absolutely loaded. So he's run well every single start. It's just, what kind of trip he's going to get. And he's speedy enough to get position. And he's a major factor when he shows up.
Yeah, Full Serrano, second choice. Like I said, he's 9-2. Forgot to mention Bankman, who has basically been sprinting the whole year. But it seems like if they run in one of these races, it would be in the Mile, and it's probably not a bad idea for him. And he's one that's been cursed by the rail and some inside trips in one of those. Now I know he got the benefit of that rail opening up when he won was it the Bing Crosby or was it the
Pat O'Brien?
It was Pat O'Brien. You're right. Pat O'Brien, he was able to get the job done in there. I guess if we see him, it's going to be in the Mile. But like I said, I mean, I kind of be splitting hairs between him and Citizen Bull and Full Serrano. I know he was the winner last year, but it's a little tough to tell if we're going to get the same Full Serrano. So like I said, if Nisos doesn't show, it's certainly wide open.
He's at least going the right way. Because I know they missed some time this summer. They were trying to get the Pacific Classic, just didn't quite work out. But he came back, he won, got 94. And last time, I thought it was a good prep. They're trying to get the Breeders' Cup. Oh, we're going to find out. We're going to find out if we can get the Breeders' Cup Classic or not. We're going to run him 9 furlongs. He was just second best in there, lost in Nevada Beach. Now they're doing the right thing. They're getting back to what he really wants to do. I think it's probably what he's wanted to do all along, which is just go a mile. And we saw what he did in this race last year when he upset the field. And I didn't see any reason for that to be fluky. So if he shows up with his best effort, he's going to get a good trip with his running style and his racetrack. So he's tough too.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much got everything covered. I know there were a couple divisions that we didn't talk about, but like I said, some of them are kind of along the lines of the filly and mare turf, where if you see a West Coast in there, they're not really going to be given much of a shot. But is there somewhere that you wanted to talk about, or somewhere?
You didn't want to talk about Gold Phoenix?
Well, I knew you wanted to talk about him. I thought he was just pretty much a shoe-in for 4th, and then we could kind of move on from that.
I don't know. It depends who comes from overseas, but he's in really good form right now. He's going to be a big price in there. He's been 4th 2 years in a row now, I think. I think the only American horse he's lost to was in our what was that Pletcher's horse name? In our time, in our marks, and Up to the Mark. Yeah, that Up to the Mark is the best turf horse we've had in years. He was second. He was right behind that horse. He's beaten, I think it was 8 of the 10 Euros that have come over the last 2 years, and this is the best form he's ever been in going into the Breeders' Cup, and it's at his home track. It's at his favorite track. He was huge last year. I don't care what anyone says. He did not have a good trip. He was 3 or 4 wide on each and every turn and still ran 4th. So I'm not saying he's going to win this thing, but if you're playing exotics, I would use him everywhere.
And he ran big in the one 2 years back. I mean, everyone was talking about how that was the best turf that we've maybe seen ever, definitely for years to come. Yeah. And I will say he had that common theme where he'd win the Del Mar handicap, then he would lose and be horrible as the favorite. This year he won.
He won. His race in the John Henry this year was the most decisive win he's had in a long time. And I'm not saying he's going to win, because I don't think he's going to win, but I would use him everywhere underneath, because he's very capable of showing up with a big effort.
He's in raging form at the age of 7, just like Ryan's favorite Lovesick Blues. You never know what they can do at age of 7.
Yep.
Anywhere else that we want to go, sir?
You want to talk about the Classic or no?
Oh, that's right. We didn't talk about the Classic.
No, I forgot the biggest race of the day. Oh my God.
Well, I was saving it for last. Just making sure we got the stuff out of the way. Obviously, you can see the field. Aragona's got Sierra Leone at 8-5 on the line. Or sorry, Sovereignty at 8-5 on the line. Sierra Leone 9-2. Fierceness 6-1. The first horse up there from the West Coast that we see is Journalism, who he's got 10-1 on the line. Baeza, he's got 15-1. And Nevada Beach, if he runs, would be quite a big price, I would have to imagine. So if we're going to get a West Coast winner, it's going to come from one of those two. And I'll leave it to you. Which one is more likely to
win? I want to say Baeza.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
I hate saying it because I'm a giant Journalism fan, but I mean, Journalism is definitely a cut below Sovereignty at this point, right? I think we've seen that by now. And he's definitely a cut below Fierceness. I mean, in the Pacific Classic, and it's contained to Sovereignty a little bit too, he had absolutely everything go perfect for him in that race. And Fierceness had a lot of things work against him, and Fierceness beat him very, very handily. It wasn't particularly close. So it's a tough sell for me to think that he can turn the tables on Fierceness and Sovereignty, amongst others. He's also not going to get a lot of pace because there's zero speed in this field outside of Fierceness, who's not even a speedball at this point in his career either. And he's probably the 5th or 6th best closer, I would have to think, in this field. If you're a fan of Journalism, you're hoping that the Pacific Classic was poor because it finally took a toll on him, the Triple Crown and the Haskell and all that, all the shipping, and it just wasn't his best effort. Now he's had 8 or 9 weeks to recover from that, to get back into his best form. But even then, I feel like he's a tough sell in this spot. He's not for me. I would need way more than 10-1, and he's a very popular horse, so it doesn't seem like we'll get higher than 10-1.
Yeah, I got a question for you. David Barisa, he's asking about Forever Young and whether he's a good price at 8-1. I guess if you go far enough left, you can get to Japan. Would I be correct in saying that? Because if you go west from where you are, like wouldn't you consider that west? Does that mean that we can talk about him?
Sure, he's a West Coast horse. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're trying to get at? Sure.
Yeah. Does he count as a West Coast horse?
We'll count him. Hong Kong counts too. If he runs back to that race in Hong Kong, he can win. I don't see why he can't. Was it Hong Kong or was it Dubai? No, he beat the Hong Kong horse in Dubai. I think it was, or maybe it was Saudi.
But even if he runs the race he ran last year, I think he's got a big shot.
Yeah, he was okay last year. He was probably closer than he wanted to.
The way he was ridden was puzzling, I thought.
What did you want him to do?
Well, it'd be a little bit more off of it. He was part of a hot pace that he didn't need to be a part of.
Yeah, last year's race was weird in that I don't remember there being a ton of discussion about it being a suicidal pace. Like I know there was 14 horses and there was some speed and obviously it was going to be fast, but I don't think everyone anticipated it being that fast. So he wanted to get position and then all of a sudden he was sucked into this wicked pace. He was right behind and he ran fine in there. He was kind of stuck on the rail at one point and he was definitely third best, I thought, but he might be the value of the field. I won't argue it with anyone who wants to claim that.
Yeah. You're not going to say Mind Frame's value at 8-1?
I'm a big Mind Frame hater, apparently. I still don't think he wants to go 10 furlongs. But if there's any track he can get 10 furlongs at, it's probably this one. And the way this pace is supposed to shake up, he's probably supposed to get a pretty good trip in here. I mean, he's going to be within a length or two, I would think. And it's going to be pretty moderate pace by Breeders' Cup Classic standards. So maybe he just gets the jump on everyone.
And if he's got the lead at the 16th pole, he's got a huge shot, which is something that we will talk about next week.
Top of the stretch.
Yeah. But he's got the lead at the top of the stretch. He's got a big shot because it was something that Ryan and I hinted on when we did a similar show to what we're going to be doing next Tuesday. But I know he's getting pretty prepared for that show. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be next Tuesday.
Well, the problem is I thought it was today. So I spent 2 hours on that. It's like, it's
all right. You're
but
ready.
Now I don't need to prepare for next week. We're already ready. It's great.
Yeah, you can focus on which West Coast horse you're going to put all your 7,500 on.
Hopefully it's a lot more than that by that point.
Well, yeah. Well, you're gonna have 57 by the time Saturday's around. Well, no, I just mean there's a possibility. I'm not saying that you're gonna lose all your minimums, but
you're certainly implying it.
It's a possibility. I mean,
no, you just said it outright. You said it was 57. You're gonna have 5,700. You didn't even imply it. You just straight up said it.
Yeah, that's my fault. I
appreciate the confidence.
Maybe I can little fire in you, and maybe you can do well.
Oh, I'm good. I just need to get away from Keeneland. I need to stay as far away from Keeneland as possible. Bring back Churchill Downs. I miss Churchill Downs so much. I miss it. Bring it back.
I think the only thing that I really have to add to the classic discussion is I think you're spot on. You can make a case that Baez is still improving, and he's got stones that haven't been turned yet, and we've seen the best of journalism. Now I understand the case that the long campaign's taken a toll on him, but he had a break between. I mean, he was at Del Mar. Somebody took a video. Was it Ryan that took a video? He was at Del Mar basically the day after he ran in the Belmont, and he'd been there forever. I couldn't see any excuse why he couldn't get to Fierceness that day. So I'm with you. I'd have to get a much bigger price on him. But I would also be a little bit skeptical of getting too short of a price on Baeza, especially on the win end. I'd maybe use him in third and fourth, but I'm not sure he really steps up to the other two or other three, I guess.
He's got to be a big price. It just depends how much they bet. I mean, I think Socrates would be like 3-2. People are obsessed with this horse. I don't get it, but he's
look at that. You can be at 700 and still do it.
Yep, we're good. You gotta get your seat, bro. Come on.
I know. I'm trying. I'm not going to let you, or I'm going to do my best to not let you be the lone wolf, because I know Ryan's got his gigs and all that, so he won't be participating. But I'm going to try to get there. I'm going to do my best. And if we don't succeed, then there's always next year. There's always the NHC. I can qualify for that.
There you go.
I think that about does it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the discussion that we had about some of the horses coming from the West Coast that will be running in their backyard on Friday and Saturday. That is October 31st and November 1st on Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday. Katie, we did not skip Nevada Beach. I mentioned him very, very shortly. But considering the odds that he will be.
He's a horse for next year.
Yeah. Watch him next year. Probably watch Baeza next year too. But anyways, that I think will do it for Jackson, for Noah. This has been episode 50 of Pacific.
And for Ryan.
And for Ryan, who's I thought he would maybe join us from Sedona, but unfortunately we couldn't get a Ryan sighting. But fortunately we did cover some great content on the West Coast horses that we will see in a couple weeks, 16 days, Breeders' Cup Friday, coming up October 31st. And next week we're going to be doing the track trends. So I'm going to make Jackson hold a salute for as long as possible. But I think it's going to end right here, and we can go ahead and send it out. PHP out.